Okay. Hey everybody, this is Petey from the Spin Rack. We also have
Calvin Ellis, ready to rock.
today we are talking about Supergirl. Now, Supergirl is out there, it's coming in there, and DC is very much ready for this because they were believing in this more than they were really pushing this in the sense of Spider-Man's coming out, and they're like, nah, we're not changing it. It's coming out first, we're doing our thing. And at the same time, there are some negative things that people saying it's excellent to it's okay to a bunch of even more negative stuff. So we're going to turn to Cal and see what he says on this. So, what do you think about this stuff?
Well, yeah, I'm sorry, working through a cold. So the negativity is one of the things that struck me because this is the same type of negativity they did for Superman 2025, where about a month out, just negative stuff. The suits were bad, the action sequences were bad, the trailer was bad, 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 everything was bad. And there was just a contingent, a very vocal contingent of people who don't like James Gunn or want the Snyderverse back or both, and they can make video after video after video. And these things can suppress interest in a film if you let it continue unchecked or if you don't try to push back. Warner Brothers and them, they're going to push back with their marketing, and Spinner Rack, we're going to try to push back with facts at the end of the day. So a couple of things. One, and this is something they did with the Superman movie. They're going to say that the film is not going to make its money back. That I think the budget on the film is like what 175 mil. That's what they're saying. And well, they're not going to make their money back. This was one of the same things they said about Superman 2025. We had to school people then. Let's just give a quick refresher. Do movie making companies split their money 50-50, you know, on opening day?
They do not do that. They get about 90% of the profits, and the movie theaters get 10%. They make pretty much all their money early on from the popcorn. Hence why you have people saying, "Oh, I don't want to go there. The popcorn is costs too much." Hey, this is how they make their money. It's a business that's always been there, and everything is going up. So why not the popcorn? But the tub size is massive. But at the same time, as it goes along, you get to as it goes along week to week, or maybe even less, greater space than that, maybe every 2 weeks, it starts to go down. To at some point, you're at 50%. Now, when we had the blockbusters like Jaws and Star Wars, it was a great time because the movies would be out and people would just continually go to the movies and enjoy these movies with their families, as I did with my families, watching History of the World. I know it's so Superman, but I can't remember exactly when it was a bigger time of watching on TV afterwards because it had some extra scenes. But it's like we would go into these movies in an airplane a couple times, and this would be a big thing for the movie theaters because towards that period, they were, as it stayed in theaters, they were making money, and the studios already made their money back. That's the idea. They've already made their money or tripled that sort of thing, and then with a 50-50 split, then there's still money's coming in. So, but in bringing that up, Forbes was the one who said that about the Superman movie, and people repeated it as if
Yeah.
something had changed, where it's just like it just a sad thing to see, because I think we did videos on this, a reputable magazine, and found that they're not, the reasons why everything that sometimes they miss. This is a big miss and a big misstatement of them
What
saying
with
this.
Forbes, it also depends on who's writing the article
Yeah.
because Forbes, different guys write.
Mhm.
So because if you had just gone maybe a week or two before, Forbes said Superman was profitable.
Yeah.
Then it became, oh no, Superman didn't make its money. Right after that, they wrote another article. Superman is profitable. So they can do that because they can get different guys in, different spin, what have you. And some of these trades don't particularly like Gunn. We addressed that as well. But in terms of a split, no. It's not this 50-50 thing. So Supergirl made 50 million. Oh, 25 went to, like, no. That they're gonna take, I like the way you described it better. Where the movie company comes in like, what? What are you talking about, bitch? Take that money. And I'm gonna take this money. That's how it gets. But no movie house they wouldn't be able to stay in business And then, I mean, I saw Superman 4 times, Superman 2025 4 times. The amount of money that these guys made on me, in terms of popcorn, in terms of buying all the trinkets that they had for sale, the popcorn buckets, which I had a whole bunch. I had a, great time saying popcorn bucket. Sam knows.
We definitely
They
know.
got they made a ton of money, and they get a different split. It's not they get all the money on that. They get
Yeah,
a different split for those type of things, but they can make more.
merchandise.
But they
Yeah,
can make right. They can make more money. So every time I went and I bought a giant starry, yes, that was all them. That was all them. So that's where they're making their money from, and it would be ridiculous because then the movie houses would be making millions of dollars every year without doing anything other than just showing the movie. That would be utterly ridiculous. So we go, literally, it's like we go, we make the movie, we pay the actors, we do all the filming, we package it, we give it to you, and you get 50% just for showing it. You'd have to be less than stupid. So
and
that's not the case.
they would have more of a say in what's going on because they're like, hey, we're partners, and they're not partners, and that's why
No.
you see so many. Well, there's been so many movie theaters from my child outside of Kings Plaza. You had the Kenmore, then there was also the Amboy movie theater in Jersey, which also had, I guess, Brian Singer and Christopher McQuarrie also were going to those ones. For him, it was a different thing of him, being a security guard. For me, a lot of interactions with, people I used to work with, girls I went to high school with for 1 year. That's all people I used to talk to, and there's and friends of mine from college. So it's a lot of moments there that are gone just because these places couldn't stay alive. And that was even before the the home theater, which at the same time, and with the event of these movie musicals, I guess you can if you have the money to have a home stereo like that, being in the theater and experience like Michael Jackson and that sort of thing. And this is not a
Yeah.
musical, of course. You can't really compare unless you got one of those Eddie Murphy and Martin Lawrence movie theaters in your home, and that's not for the lay people.
Ugh.
You want to do something, and obviously with family, it's tough to bring the kids out and do all that stuff. But at the same time, we used to go to the movies with my just to stick on the popcorn and that sort of thing. My aunt
You
who had,
you
huh?
you went as a full family to the Kenmore?
No, not that. We only went to the
Oh,
Kimmel with my father once. Oh,
yeah,
maybe
I was about to
somewhere
say.
else. I think he took us to a couple other theaters, but I think we walked, literally walked to the Kenmore. But that's because this is another tales way out. He had just been he just fully recovered from a car accident. So it wasn't that he didn't want to drive; he just loved walking at that point because he had his legs back because he had to learn how to walk. He literally when
Mm.
you see the things that people learn how to walk.
Yeah,
He
I've seen
literally
him.
fell, but he fell on his face when we came to visit him before we lived back there again in Brooklyn. He heard us at the door and heard something at the door, and he went to help, thinking they could move, and he was like bang, and then we come in there. I don't remember. He just tells us the story, but at that point we came moved back. He was like, "You want to see Star Trek?" The Wrath of, I think it was another movie, and then we started walking, and it was like, and this is back in the days when your parents, you imagine as a kid you're going to be disciplined every 2 seconds, and he's walking with us, like, why is he doing this? It was like the Smurfs, and we were like in the desert. It's just like, what is he
Are we there
doing?
yet?
There was a car. We know there was a car when we lived here we were little 5 and 4, and then next thing we got us some food from like 7-Eleven, and it was just like the best thing ever. It's like, oh my god! And then the walk back wasn't as bad at all. It was like, oh, it was real easy. But if you don't know where you're going, it's like the longest thing ever. But anyway, with that said, with this movie, I think DC has very much high hopes for it, and of course, it is definitely, it's. I didn't read the Superman Woman from Tomorrow. I mean, it's not, and it doesn't look like it's going to be full on the Perez, Mark Wade, um,
Good
super,
trash. I
super.
mean, the Tom,
Yeah.
not the Perez stuff,
Mhm.
not the Perez Mark Wade stuff. That Tom King story. It
Mhm.
that can, as long as they take like some ostensible inspiration from that, no problem. By
Mhm.
that I mean it's in space and that alone. But the actual story, like no, absolutely not.
So, but I think the Wade and Perez one was kind of even the story before it with Supergirl and Green Lantern. of Green Lantern acting like, she's a girl, and probably played it back, and she kind of went off. And then when he next sees her, she has a ruse going on that she's going to get into this fight, and she looks like a little girl, and we, the audience, knows what's going to happen. And then the Lobo one. So that, this, they seem like they're not going. I don't know if they're going to do that type of stuff, but they're going for a kind of I want to say a girl of the present day. I wanted to say 90s girl, but it's not the 90s, but 90s, that kind of statement saying this is a new age girl. So I think they're trying to do that sort of thing to connect with the younger girls out here now. Whereas as time went along, you had Supergirl in the, when she was first introduced as a, kind of a mate to Superman. Then the Kara Zor-El, who we met, and she was a girl of the time. As Cal said in our last video, she appeared many a time. That led to her getting her own series because she obviously was popular. Just either the stories they were telling, it didn't generate into anything big. And then later on, when she has the headband, she's a little more adult, not, and she's like, dating every. It feels like guys, the the supporting characters are always these Michael Hasselhoff guys with mustaches. They have the Hasselhoff hair and a mustache. And it's just like, is that supposed to be Tom Selleck? But it just turns out to looking like some cheesy guy that you've seen in the insurance commercial, something like that. So, and as it's going along, and she came back, obviously you brought up Peter David in our last thing. She had like the skateboard, but that was obviously Matrix. But it was kind of, trying to do this. So she's always been kind of dated. And then the cartoon had more of, a younger girl, and she had the kind of t-shirt outfit, which was cool. So so this, I applaud them for trying to do this. And we did talk about it being a little more grunge, but since we had to, we'll backtrack a little bit just so you can chime in. They did also have this special scene here where she's speaking Kryptonian, and Superman is obviously struggling, and Krypto is
Yeah,
trying.
that's malarkey.
But they put the two characters together because both were sent separately. Or actually, no, Crypto goes off course, and then he was a test, and he goes off course, and then Kara Zor-El was sent to take care of him.
Yeah, the idea of Superman not being able to speak Kryptonian is so foreign for me because even in the Man of Steel reboot, he was still able to speak Kryptonian after a certain point.
Yeah.
So the idea she's showing up and he's like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I don't speak the language." I'm like, "Really? So how are you going to make the jump from Kryptonian, a language of a foreign world, to English? I guess you're going to get some help from the Fortress of Solitude. Oh, which means you could speak Kryptonian if you wanted to." So
Well, that's
that type of stuff, I just never find that to be very feasible. But hey, whatever. That's what happens when you start going for realism.
well,
That's what happens when you do that nonsense.
because I think because the comic Man is still was also going for him finding it out, just like in the regular series, like way later, that he's from Kryptonian. They did the Kryptonian flashbacks, but then he finds out some point later, and then of
Well,
course,
that's worse because that Superman could speak every language on the planet. And if he
well,
left the planet and he went to another world, he was able to pick up alien languages. So that was there's more evidence for that guy, his intelligence, that he was going to pick up the language at the end of the day, rather than this one over here. It's like, oh, I'm sorry, I don't speak the language, no interest.
well, that's it was instant, and what's the name? Once he gets it in there, it was instantaneous. And then when you see World of Krypton, he was like, then he was like, I understand what it is to be Kryptonian. I think I have a good idea at that point. So, but the language was immediate once Jor-El gives it to him. So I think they're trying to do the best. This is not saying what works. This is just using the phrase "best of both worlds," saying, hey, she is a Kryptonian. He's he's Earth, but he has all the Kryptonian stuff. So it already should, like with the robots, it should be able to help him understand what they're saying, so nothing gets misconstrued. What are the robots there for outside of being, else, them helping them with that stuff? But I guess they want to have that moment of Beverly Hillbillies of trying to understand each other, which was unnecessary. Which the thing is, you go to that's one of the immediacy of the Silver Age. When she comes in there, we don't play that game. She just comes in and and she knows how it is. Even though the Superman movie, they were, feeding them information in the first Superman movie. So we can get past this kind of thing, but they have that for anyone who wants to do that. And but yeah, it's oh, man. But yeah.
So
Mhm.
yeah, so that's one. I think in all of that we got through the first thing, whereas hey, there's not a 50-50 split. So don't look at this movie as, oh, it wasn't unsuccessful, didn't make its money because 50. No, it doesn't. That just doesn't happen. Even when Superman 2025, at the time when they took it out of the movie theaters, it was averaging like $1 million a day. So when they took it out, it wasn't because it was unsuccessful, because they were still making money on the movie. Even if they were splitting, they were making 500 grand at that point a day. So nobody's going to walk away from that money. But they didn't want to compete with the movie theaters and the digital release of the film. So that was the reason why they shut it down in the theaters. So
Hmm.
please keep these things in mind when we're going with Supergirl. Don't think, oh, they pulled it from the theaters early. Like, no, they did the same thing. They have their reasons. And with Superman, they really wanted to get it out of the theaters so they could do their own digital release because they knew they could make more money there than they could, with it in the theaters. It's just not the old days anymore. It's just not. So, and what was the other? There was something else with
Well,
the
wait,
the digital. Oh yeah,
before you start,
let me just. Okay, okay, okay. Go
hold
ahead.
that thought for a second, because I mean, we're telling and we're not showing. So let's see. I'm putting you to the test now, right? I'm putting you to the test. I'm going to show what we have here. We have first reactions, excellent to okay, that's what I said, and then three
Mhm.
down, it's over.
Yeah,
Zero.
zero.
Oh
The movie,
boy.
the movie's not. Oh no, stop right there. Stop right there with oh boy. Stop right there at oh boy. Look at what they did to her face. Look what they did to her face. Look at the girl above. Look at the girl above, same girl,
Mhm.
and then somehow now she looks like that. Like, come on, they're
So
not even. They're so petty, so petty.
I tried for the audience that is saying, nah, it's not that. I tried to push against what Cal said, and look what happened. Look what y'all did. Epic fail. Good Lord. So what do you say now? Say, well, sorry when I stopped you. Please go. So the floor is yours.
Oh, the other thing was that when Superman 2025 came out on direct release, digital release, it was at number one. Okay, it was at number one. So it, anything of this didn't make money or didn't make them back the money, that's just ridiculous. Historically, movie theaters don't talk, and movie companies don't talk about how much money they make. Why? Because they've already paid everybody else up front, so nobody else needs to know about. Oh no, you don't need to know how much money we made, because the next time you come back, you're going to want more money for these movies. No, you get this money. We take everything else, and they know about going. They know their ways about making their money. The I'm trying to remember. It was something like again, it's just not the old days, but you would have a film like say Conan the Barbarian,
Mhm.
and that was successful in theaters, but then it was even more successful in digital release in not digital release, home, DV DV VHS. So that type of stuff is what you want to keep in mind. Where, yeah, it could be successful in the theaters, and it did have a good run in the theaters, but even more successful once people can get their hands on it and watch it at home. When they saw like, okay, the amount of people who bought it, rentals, that type of stuff. Good grief, man, this is so much.
Well,
This
this
is
other
so
one
much.
is talking about her talking, but it's like they're making too much about
Well,
these
let
type
me
of
make
things.
my next point. Well, I don't agree. I don't agree with the comments that she made in the Variety article or how people are savaging them. You do have to remember that these films need a bedrock of male support. Okay. On average, I think the average is male viewership of any superhero movie is something like 55% to as high as 80%. Okay. Even yeah, like the Captain Marvel movie, first one,
Mhm.
that was that was overwhelmingly male male viewership. It was bedrock. It was over 50%. The Marvels movie. over 50%. And then you have some of the movies that like even out a little bit where it's like, and evening out is like 52-48, that type of thing. I think the only movie on record that I know of where there was more female support than male support, or at least in terms of viewership, was Wonder Woman. Wonder Woman was 52-48.
Mm.
Okay, which they would call an even split at the end of the day. So, but I really want to pay attention to those numbers because Wonder Woman, this is the first Wonder Woman movie. Wonder Woman's an iconic character. All of these things going for it. The female viewership was 52%, not 60, not 70, not 80, 52%.
Mm.
So, had you not had a bedrock of male viewership in terms of 48%, it would not have done as well as it did. So you don't want to overlook those things. So going forward, I hope they're not going to feed the troll with this type of nonsense. But mind you, this was the same stuff that happened with Gunn when he came out and he made some comment about Superman being, I forgot what it was. It was Superman being an immigrant or something. And then it became, oh, look, see, he's woke. They threw anything that they could at the movie before it was coming out because they wanted it to fail. They either wanted the Snyderverse back or they wanted him to fail. Those people haven't gone anywhere. Unfortunately, evil, we can't get rid of it. We can push it to the fringes, okay, but with the internet, it just comes roaring back. It just waits for its moment and it comes right back in. So that's something that we want people to keep in mind. As you're going forward, you're gonna see a lot of negative press. Look, these guys, that's how they get their clicks, that's how they get their viewerships. They're selling to a certain demographic. Okay, and this is what that demographic wants to see, and they keep feeding them. They can't get enough of it. Scroll down just a little.
Hold on for a second.
Yeah, right there. That's perfect. Perfect. You see what they did to her over here? They had Melissa Benoist from
Okay,
the
yeah.
Supergirl TV series.
Mhm.
So they got the nice picture of her, pretty, soft, all nicely made up and everything. And then look at the picture they got next to her. She looks like a roughed up Cabbage Patch Kid or something. Okay, and she doesn't look like that. She doesn't look like that. But those are the type of images that you're going to see coming out. And then what is it saying? If you like the Supergirl TV series, oh, well, don't go see this. Okay, look at what they're doing. I think they had one where they turned her into like a orange Wookiee or something. It was just like it's some really bad stuff. Really bad stuff when you look at it. But you've got to know what it is that they're selling. When they're saying Rotten Tomatoes 0%, the movie isn't out. The movie isn't out. That's the same as saying 100% and we're going to go down from there. It's not out. But this is the
Well,
type of stuff that you don't want to, this is the type of stuff that you can see now and expect to see in the future. Go ahead.
sir, I don't believe you. I gotta call you out. I gotta call you out. We're gonna go to Rotten Tomatoes and you see what's there. All right, you ready? How's
Yeah, I'm
that?
ready.
There we go. It's zero because there's nothing. There's no
Exactly. See,
there's nothing
look,
there
there's
yet.
no tomato, and what's more, there's no popcorn because there's no popcorn buckets for sale yet. Actually, I remember one guy, they were taking the movie to task for the popcorn bucket they made for Lobo. They got Lobo's car, and it's
Mhm.
supposed to double as a popcorn bucket, but it's like this little hole, and you don't get a lot of popcorn in there. And I'm like, you got to be stupid. Nobody buys this for popcorn.
Yeah,
No, it's a
no, definitely.
collectible.
Yeah,
It's
definitely.
a collectible. I'm not buying this to go put any. You think I bought two, three different popcorn buckets? I'm not putting any popcorn in that. Get it all greasy and nasty. No, that's a collectible. But I mean, literally, just hitting it on anything that they can. So please keep that in mind. Please keep that in mind. If you're going forward, if you're somebody who wants to give the movie a fair chance, you've liked what you've seen so far in terms of what they're doing with DC, which I do, and you want to be overall supportive, don't let yourself get depressed when you see stuff like this. This is all directed at a certain audience. It's not directed at you, okay? And don't worry. I'm gonna consume a whole bunch of this to make certain that we speak to it so we can head a lot of this stuff off at the pass. So you don't have to be bothered, if you will. So when you see stuff like this, ignore it. The best thing that I could tell you, if you're interested in seeing the film, see the film. And if you're not, then really try to listen to some reviews from somebody reputable that you can trust. Because even with the Superman film, some of the people who came out initially and gave it less than positive reviews, they actually circled back and changed their review a few weeks later because of the reaction of the people. And that's something that can definitely happen here right now. I mean, what's out now? Masters of the Universe?
Mm-hmm.
And oh man, I mean, who's
Oh,
this?
please, we can
Grace
spoil.
Randolph.
Uh-huh.
Huh?
No,
No,
I was
Grace
gonna say
Randolph.
that.
I don't.
So you go. You go.
Yeah, Grace Randolph, I don't like her reviews. I like her movie math. I don't like her reviews. Her reviews, I think, are just too subjective, too personal at the end of the day. And she has such a feminine lens. Oh, good grief. But she didn't care for the whole thing. And I'm like, all right, but did she grow up watching He-Man? Does she really care about this? Probably not. So then I get what is it? I get a text, from a friend of mine. He knows He-Man, so on and so forth. Saw some of the stuff as a kid. Um, I don't know where he's young too, so he's not somebody who grew up with the show. And hang on. I want to read exactly what he said. I want to read exactly what he said. Hang on just a second. New Masters of the Universe movie is effing excellent. They nailed it. So who am I gonna listen to? Who am I gonna listen to? I'm gonna listen to Grace Randolph, or I'm gonna listen to a dude who knows the character. So I'm probably gonna end up listening to him. So, if you're gonna check in, don't necessarily be depressed about the movie based on what you see, especially for people who are turning up negative stuff. Tune in, dial into some place that you can genuinely trust, or the people who will give you some honest feedback about it. That's probably the best thing I could say right now.
Um, well, the other thing is we got to talk about what everyone else is complaining about is the actress herself. And obviously pulling out this picture and saying this old boy one and saying, okay, this is her. So they're gonna make me do it. I don't want to do it, y'all. I don't. If you see, I didn't unfollow. I am not following. I
Oh,
was to
oh,
say,
good.
yet, but
I was gonna send you some
so
images. 'Cause I was like, she don't look like that. She doesn't look like that.
here's the IG, but at the same time, she's also, I'm not sure her age, but she looks like a girl. So here, and you go to the other thing, here's a girl under stress fighting, right? So, like, come on, guys.
Even under stress, she doesn't look like that.
Yeah. So, but it's like pulling out a shot like this when it's like, but the girl quality is definitely there, and that's the thing that's
No,
important.
go
Besides
go
her
back.
being,
Hold on. If you look at this image right there, where it says Supergirl first reactions, but then
Mhm.
look who's doing that. Is that what's his name?
John
Yeah,
Campion.
John Campia. Yeah, he's
Mhm.
probably gonna be more fair. So he's got like an actual legitimate picture of her. And then if you scroll down, there's like a softer picture of her on the left. That's what she looks like. That's what she looks like. If you in terms of complexion, all of that. The other one, you can tell it's mocked up. They got it dirtied up. They tousled up the hair even more. Some of the other ones, they got it looking like a roughed up munchkin or what have you. I mean, even there, that's a still from the movie. Just look at her complexion in the movie and what they're doing. They're making her look orange for some reason.
Mhm.
I don't, they're giving her this tawny complexion like she's a beast,
Yeah, but
and they're going overboard with the hair.
but I just point out that besides being, Model S, you can see from here, she also has a girl quality to be like, I'm not, if she's 18, she still can play younger. So that's important, keeping her like the girl
Well,
that's
there's a good
younger than
picture of her
Superman. Hmm?
in that Variety article that's not doing her any favors, but there's a good picture of her in that Variety article.
Okay. But yeah, so there we
You know,
go.
the
So we've
yeah.
we've gone through all of the things. Her look, the Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah,
Um,
she's a pretty girl. She's a pretty girl. They're really doing their best to make her look busted.
and well, this is the thing.
Like, like,
We're moving
like
on
Charlize
to
Theron busted from like Charlize Theron and Monster busted. Like they're really working at it.
so yeah. But I only will say which is what you this is not a defense of this guy. This one the epic fail. He's on Marvel DC, and not to say that he's wrong on some of the points, but he has got a really strong slant on what he does on the GDA comic and their content. I haven't seen what his own content is, but it's also like here, come to me, see see my thing of how Marvel, DC, or Supergirl are doing terrible, and some of those are real cases of the SGW stuff. But here's the same thing, then I'm going to say all the products I'm doing, and then I'll go back to trashing it and saying there's nothing left. And ultimately, even if you dislike Marvel DC movies, I think the same thing. I'll just use you as an example. With Marvel doing bad movies or bad comics, you want Marvel to be the Marvel of old, to be the industry leader in both fields. So that same with me. So it's wanting to get to a point where you can say, oh, I like this book, I like this other thing. So, it's a little, they're going a little too far. And well, this is what they do until people love it or it switches, and then it says, then you say, oh, it was the best thing ever. And DC knows it, like the absolute best stuff. Until that
Oh, that.
absolute starts dipping, then it'll be back to we knew it, we knew it.
Will they be back to Liefeld? Yeah, I'll wait.
Well,
I'll wait.
Livo, I was right. It just didn't happen, and then he's now like the absolute Batman has
Did he
transcended
honestly say
all the
that?
Batman. What
Did he honestly say that? I was
yeah,
right. It just didn't happen.
he said yeah,
What kind of?
because they did the absolute Batman. I was it was going down the tubes, everything I was saying,
Yeah.
but then they did
So
this, and it
you,
was a
yeah,
success.
you know, we call that being wrong, Rob Liefeld. That's what we call it. I
Yeah,
was right. It just didn't happen. Get out of here.
yeah. So that's a part that you know when this is the idea that people look, there was videos where they said it might have been JD, what's the name, said yeah, he was, this was I think it's got on the date, the download thing. I want that on there, but shoot, oh yeah, JDA talks comics. He was saying, oh, I'm pretty sure, I'm maybe not saying, but people were saying that since Scott Snyder sounds soft in his saying, hey, please read my book. Please read Batman. This is exciting. I work with an artist I want to work with. He's like, he's actually begging you to buy his book. He knows this is going to fail. And everyone's worried this is going to fall apart. And the next thing you know, it's like the hottest thing. But Liefeld, of
Well,
course, has to take it.
they sure as heck made it seem like that. Not Snyder. That's just Snyder. He's soft spoken. I've heard him speak before. But they were like, "Oh man, this is it. This is it." And I'm like, I don't understand. What about all the good stuff DC did for the last 2 years before this? DC All In was good. The Superman books are clicking. There's definitely always a healthy interest in Batman. What's the problem? They were like, "Yeah, yeah, this is it." And who was at the lead? Rob Liefeld. Rob Liefeld was right there waving his flag on the front of the car. And then when they went to go charge and they realized, "Oh, wait a minute, they got the gates closed. Abort, abort." Rob was like, "Yeah, we won. They we won. They just wouldn't let us." It's like the Spurs and the Knicks.
Well, it's the hard part is him. I think with one thing,
Dumbass.
yeah, I think one thing with when Jim Lee got in there, he was also able to bring in people like Rob to DC and Mark Silvestri on some
Mm.
things. And when he's on your side, he can be a big cheerleader. And when he's against you, even when he's against his own image guys, it's a hell to pay on that side because you know like
Oh, okay. So
any
he's,
any discussion that you had behind closed doors is, I'm going to say everything it all comes out, and that's always a slam. But anyway, hey, this is the I think the first the we kind of knew from the first, even though I did want to see it, but it was like I can't, at that point it was like can't chance it, and I think I was right. But at the same time, Supergirl, that was a Helen Slater. She really looked like Supergirl. It was like wow. So well, actually, I should watch. I'm gonna watch this video because this guy, Oliver Harper, is pretty good with his movie perspectives going through the history. But anyway, any last thoughts?
I still haven't seen that movie.
Yeah, me neither.
I've seen Supergirl with
Helen Slater, right?
the first, yeah,
Yeah.
with Helen Slater, the first one. I still haven't seen. I've seen. I think I saw the. I don't know. It was on TV, and I saw something where she grabbed like a lamppost and flew, and I was kind of like, I don't think this is for me. And then there's only one scene that I've like seen the whole thing where she's like developed her power of flight, And they did it very differently than with Superman, where he takes off and he's like speeding through the air, where she's doing like almost like an aerial ballet, if you will, which I thought was really good. It was a totally different reaction to flight, which I think she should have.
Yeah.
Not everybody's, should be the same thing. So it was very graceful, very feminine. I really like that. But again, for those of you, anybody, if you guys are looking forward to if you are looking forward to the movie, hey, there's no reason to not be looking forward to the movie. Go out if you want to see it. Grab that Lobo popcorn bucket. That was definitely going to be a nice little thing to sell. Well, let me not say sell, but it'll be a nice little item, to put up there on the shelf, so on and so forth. I will definitely be buying mine to sell. But and then the only advice I would give to them is look, please do not take the bait on the feminist stuff. That is the only thing I could see suppressing this movie. All right. Every single superhero movie that has been successful has had a bedrock of male support. Wonder Woman, the only movie in my research that had a larger share of women than men only had a larger share by 4%. And this is the
Mhm.
first Wonder Woman movie. So if you're like, hey, girl power, we're going to come out and the women are telling you no. And they keep telling you no, we're not going to do this. There's no 80-20 superhero movie. You need male support. Please don't jeopardize that for an agenda or to make some sort of statement because the guys will stay home. They're at that point. They will stay home.
Yeah. I'd only say my last thing would be I think when Eddie Murphy did Boomerang, they were I think he was on Jay Leno and they were like he was trying to ask him about the casting and this business and all that and trying to get around the thing of just saying, hey, like, we're the white people. And Jay left it in the sense of saying, yeah, we're kind of we're the white people, and he's like, it's like no, they're white people in the movie. They're saying that there's no white bosses. How did these guys become bosses? And no, and the white people aren't in the boss position. That's which
It's a movie. It's a movie. The same way there were no black people in Woody Allen's Manhattan.
that's the thing. So that was basically where he was going with it. So a lot of times when they go into these things, you can also do what Mark Miller used to do, and we'll bring up Rob Liefeld. He was like when Youngblood, whatever it was like Young Blood Extreme or something like that. It's like Young Blood Extreme comes out just like Wanted, just like this, just like all these projects that I did, just like the Authority. You're going to be blown away when you see what we did in Young Blood. And he was like, don't be the ones left out. Like, so when if you catching, people like, well, why are you doing Young Blood? That's the worst. And even though obviously it didn't work out to that effect. It came out years later and it was, hella disappointing. But the thing is that he didn't play the game of saying, yeah, but Rob is a person who's done these strong things and do all that stuff. He just went to the, hey, just promoting it and saying, in a strong way of saying, you could be left behind, like that sort of thing. So yeah, all right. So check out Supergirl, and this would be they are making. Actually, I can't say that because they did the two what's names, but DC is kind of even with the first Supergirl of going to the female characters, and you have to remember that besides Marvel having female teammates, they didn't even go to Stan and Jack. They didn't go in and pick a character to immediately superhero to do a female story on. I think we got the Cat and that sort of thing, but we didn't go on and did a Marvel version of a female superhero. Like you have even say like you have Spider-Man or Iron Man. Those are like quintessential kind of Marvel heroes. And we didn't. The closest is Dazzler, because Dazzler had the chutzpah of the Marvel characters. You see the people she was fighting and going up against Terrax and all this other stuff. It just the art wasn't like what was at the time, but they tried to make her that sort of thing. But saying Dazzler shows that it feels like a soft thing. But DC
And it
Supergirl
is.
has always yeah. So Supergirl is definitely a strong
Well,
brand character
yeah,
that should be a movie, and it should do, it should work out.
yeah. Marvel didn't start doing that until later. Once I don't know when Stan got the buzz, but all of a sudden there was Spider-Woman and well, Dazzler was his own thing, but Spider-Woman, She-Hulk, like almost anything that you could do female, he started to, and that wasn't for anything other than the copyrights. It's like, oh no, we can't have these guys beat us to the punch. We need to have the female versions of this because they weren't really thinking too much other. We got to copyright the name She-Hulk, Spider-Woman.
Mhm.
We haven't done these characters, and so we're gonna come and do that. Whereas with DC, because you had the child aspect of the characters, you would have a Superman, Superboy, Supergirl. You would have, Batman, Robin, but also Batgirl, Aquaman, Aqualad, Aquagirl. Those things were just commonplace in the DC universe. We didn't quite get that with Marvel. And even then, we never really got it. We got some stuff later on, but we never really got that. So just to add on to what you said.
All right, so thank you guys for watching Spinner
Yeah.
Rack. If this
Oh,
don't
stick
act
with
up,
us. We're gonna be back with the spinner rack review. Okay, the spinner rack. We're gonna spearhead this whole thing. We're gonna stay positive. We got you. Okay, you're gonna be able to walk into the movie with your head up high.
right, Spinner Rack. If I can get
We're
to
out.
it. Hold on. Here we go, close to it. There we go.